Yo, just figured I'd get a video out about my thoughts on the PoE 2 event. So obviously, I do not care if GGG Fs me on any flights, okay? I'll go every single time. The event was amazing. I could have not played a lick of PoE 2, and I still would have won. We could have all crowded around one computer, and that would have been totally fine. Or not played at all. It was just so nice to meet everyone. Everyone's actually so chill. Like, literally not a single dickhead in the community. I don't know how we managed it. Every single person is just, like, straight up a homie. Just an absolute blast of a time. And, you know, it probably wasn't too hard to be nice with free food and drink, but, you know, shout out to GGG for that one. PoE 2 beta delay. I know that kind of really sucks, right? But, it really was the right play. That game was not going to be balanced. It wasn't going to be ready. And they only had 3 months, with just like the state of Act 1. And that's not to say it was like a complete and utter horrible mess, but there were bugs, there's balance, and they only let us play 3 classes, which kind of lets me assume that the other classes weren't really ready. And this was just Act 1. And something that makes me like lean towards like them not being ready to is how polarizing playing a sorceress was. It sounded god awful. Too slow, too low damage, cast speeds, you know, animations, whatever. A lot of people said it felt very clunky. I did watch Waggle's gameplay of Fire Sword on stream, and it didn't seem too bad. It seemed really good for the first couple bosses compared to my Ranger experience, but it seemed like it really fell off. Like some of those bosses, especially the boss that had fire resistance, like, dude, that was a 7-minute boss fight. Like, wow. I assume he'll have like a weapon swap, second skill gem setup, so you can tackle any boss that has fire res, or at least just have like something to spam. But yeah, that looked really brutal. Ranger combo, they talked about it. You see it in the preview. There's a Ranger combo where you would do a bunch of lightning rods on the ground, shoot it with a lightning arrow, and that's your combo. It chains between them all, you know, sick. Well, if you look at the gameplay, you know, I'm using one ability, and that's Stormcaller arrow. It's like explosive arrow, but for lightning arrow builds. Its main use was just to apply shock. That's what it was supposed to do. But that combined with Fork or Pierce and Herald of Thunder just makes it like the best single target and the best clear. So as weird as it sounds, that felt really lame. I wanted a cool combo. I want to set up on bosses. I want to blast them down with a combo. I don't want to just like use the OP a bit. I just run around right click. Like warriors are doing these sick combos. They're even doing more damage than me and the OP ability. But yeah, it seemed like warrior was the one class that was like, they nailed it, you know, like the balancing felt cool. Your combos felt cool. Everything was rewarding. Like I have not heard of a warrior having a bad time playing the game. You know, they're beefy. They get a shield right away. You get to abuse that active block right away. It just seemed like a overall sick time where you have huge Punisher moves you get to perform on the boss when they're stunned or when you're good enough at the game. And that's what I wanted with Lightning Arrow. But I should probably just play Warrior, and I probably will next time. Because, yeah, it seemed like the best class. And, you know, it seems like it's the PoE 2 thing, right? Melee, man. So next point is like the difficulty in Act 1. So Act 1 as a ranger was pretty brutal, man. Normal monsters, random wolves, they're all going to destroy you. You can't just hold W anymore, right? Like you have to respect the early act monsters because of how weak you are. But you make some progress on your character. You get some skill gems, a couple passives, and gear, most importantly, right? Like new bow bases and whatnot. And now your character is kind of solving some problems and whatnot, right? In Act 1, Zone 1, I think I left the zone like 4 or 5 times, something like that, to fill my flasks as I cleared it all out. But as a ranger, you get some flask charge nodes, and it's not really a problem anymore. So like Act 1, Zone 5, you know, did I even leave the zone at all to fill my flasks? I didn't at all a single time in Act 2, not during bosses or during my time like clearing all the monsters and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's just Ranger. Warrior seems like they're beefy enough where it wasn't that big of a deal, but Sorceress sounded very painful with how much mana your abilities were consuming and how much you needed to spam a HP flask because your cast times were too slow to get out of the way of some stuff, and you kind of just got stunned and effed sometimes. Bosses I thought were sick. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, bosses are like the one that's like PoE 2 in my mind. People say like Souls-like, and I can kind of see it, but it's really just like you have to respect the monsters. Like you have to actually play the video game against normal monsters, especially magic and super especially rare monsters. And I'll talk about that later, you know, balancing and how I think like monsters should be. But yeah, they really nailed it on the bosses, man. Like straight up. The bosses have cool themes. They have really unique and distinct abilities. They feel like characters, you know, obviously not the worm. Okay. But, you know, when we're getting to the other bosses like Executioner, like that whole area leading up to him, the Executioner's arena, you know, is very cool. The end of Act 1 boss, no spoilers, is really cool too. But yeah, it's just like PoE 2 in my mind is the bossing, right? That's going to be the cool, that's going to be the epicness, you know, of you playing is fighting these like cool bosses in the end game. Lots of butt clenching on these bosses because if you die, they reset. And as you see here, the same happens in the zone. And that's also a kind of Dark Souls-ish vibe. It's so cringe for me to say that, but it's a Souls-like. But straight up, man, you get effed all the time. Like, look at this. I'm getting effed again by a magic pack. And that's what got me in the zone. And when you die in the zone, it resets. You lose whatever loot was on the ground. You lose whatever progress you made through the quest state of that zone. So now I have to reopen all of these gates and defend her while they open. Very annoying. And I think that's fine. I think it's totally fine that they discourage you from dying. I think it's very frustrating, but it should be frustrating as long as you are not unfairly dying all of the time, right? As long as you have like some recourse against that, and the recourse is getting good. So I don't think having the zone reset is too big an issue, so long as most players feel like they can do it with skill, or at least just like getting some gear. And that's another thing, is that if you suck ass and you are forced to clear the zone again, well, you're killing all the monsters again. You're getting all of the loot, at least that, you know, which can drop from monsters. That, you know, whatever you had on the ground, maybe you killed the monster pack, dropped something sick, then died, you know, you lost that, but you're getting your magics, your rares, whatever from killing all these again, right? It's kind of like building in a little bit of a grind for you to hopefully overcome this zone through another level or a couple of gear pieces, or just, you know, actually paying attention and blasting it. But let's get to my balance, because I think that's going to be a huge issue, and it seemed like it was a huge issue in our PoE 2 event. So obviously every Sork player said the game sucks. Sork was rough. Sork was rough from a lot of Sorceress players. Ranger was rough, and then it wasn't. And Warrior seemed to be pretty good the whole time, like straight up. It did not seem bad at all at any point. At least looking at like Kaiser footage and a few other people who played Warrior. Yeah, it didn't seem bad at all. But my hope is that in Act 1, I think it's totally fair to have the game and the monsters be brutal and hard, because you wash up on shore, you pick up the first piece of wood that lands in your hand, and you're bonking zombies over the head. You make it through the city after killing the first boss, you get to the first starting town, and now you're going and you're fighting some wolves, right? You're fighting like rabid wolves. Like, imagine doing that with a little bonky piece of wood, you know? It's gonna be a pain in the ass, man. You're gonna have to respect those wolves. I think that's totally fair for Act 1. And I like the tone that it sets, that it's a harsh world, and you're gonna have to fight and claw your way to kill whatever it is you want and to accomplish your goals, right? Fight cool eldritch horrors or make a name for yourself, right? It's gonna be fucking hard, man. So, you know, it sets the pace well. Now, my hope is that the normal monsters of Act 1 and 2 can be kind of tricky, but by Act 3, it's only the magic and rare monsters that are hard to tackle, right? So this is where you feel your character power. It's not just the bosses, right, that are, like, die quicker, because obviously we don't, I would imagine GGG wouldn't want our character power to be expressed through how fast you can kill the boss. because that kind of defeats the purpose of having these like grand and epic boss fights with unique dialogue and moves and all this, right? Like it feels like bosses are the point of Path of Exile 2. So where I hope you express your character power is by not having to deal with all those little shithead white mobs. That would be nice, right? Act 3 and 4, only the Magic Plus monsters are hard. And once you reach like Act 5 or Act 7 or whatever it is, once you reach maps, it would generally be just the rare monsters that would be like trouble for you, right? Where you can kind of just like brain off, you're just killing normal, killing magic, and then boom, you lock in. It's a rare monster. Don't die or the zone resets. And then you move on your merry way, right? And then, you know, it's just bosses, right? Bosses, I think, obviously, should remain semi-difficult, right? Like, you know, you shouldn't just like walk in and kill them or whatever right away. That's not how your character power should be expressed unless you're going back to old content or, you know, in maps, right? Like once you get your character established, let's say you're doing like endgame maps, like T60 maps or something, like the map boss, you know, once you get your build there, you've been grinding a couple days, it shouldn't be this like butt clenching, you know, hand sweating fight. It should kind of be chill. And then it's just like the end game bosses that are sick, or maybe, you know, a couple map bosses, but you can kind of see the trend, right? It starts really rough in Act 1 because everything's hard, but your character power is expressed through having an easier time killing the mobs on the way to the boss. I think that would be nice. And I think it's really important that they get that balancing down, or the entire experience from boss to boss in the campaign will only be doing your combo while backpedaling. And obviously that's giga cringe. And it doesn't seem like that's the direction they were going for, even though it was a little bit of a muddy balancing, a couple bugs and whatnot. It didn't seem like that was kind of what they're going for, right? You know, at least at this point, you know, I'm kind of just like effing up all the monsters. I mean, I die in this zone a couple times, but it was Octavian kept popping on the mic and saying, you have just want to let everybody know you've got about 10 minutes left to play the game. So I just started pushing W. So I died like 2 times here. Like I was taking my time a little bit, respecting these monsters. Like this seems like a dangerous zone. The other one, you know, terracotta spear ladies, like whatever. But yeah, you got big shield boys. You got little effers throwing projectiles. You got meteors being cast and all this random, you know, whatever. Like, sure, you can have some hard zones. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, Act 1, a little bit slow. I think it took most people like 1.5 hours, 2 hours. At no point was I ever thinking, like, wow, this is taking so long. Like, I can't wait for this to be done. Like, straight up, genuinely, it's just fun. Like, it's just like, it's actually fun. I want to keep playing. In my mind, when I encounter like those difficult, meaning I have to backpedal and can't just hold W, like normal monsters and whatnot, it doesn't make me want to quit. It makes me want to get more gear and to overcome this, right? Like I can't wait to just fuck all these monsters up. Like all these rares and magics in the zone that are just like trolling the hell out of me. I cannot like, oh yeah, just wait till I get my bow upgrade. Okay, it's not like, oh my gosh, like this is not fair, like I hate this game. You know, it's like, nah, just wait, you'll get what's coming to you. Yeah, okay, so PoE 2 Souls-like, we can go back to this. I'm just going off my notes. Sometimes the monsters will be little fuckers. They're gonna kill you and you're gonna get pissed, man. And you know, hey, as a famous man once said, you might hate K, but at least you feel something like that. Okay, I don't know. I think it's fine that the game makes you pissed sometimes, as long as you can overcome that, and it's not like literally all of the time. Like I said, you know, unique bosses, they're difficult. You have to overcome them. Like the difficulty in PoE 1 seems to be coming from what build you're following, if you did the right passives, if you have the right skills, if you can get the right sockets, the links and the chromes, colors, and you're capping your resistances. And the difficulty in this game seems to come from, can you recognize the boss patterns and the monster patterns? Can you recognize what the scary monster is and what the random little monsters are, right? Like there's little bone snakes or little bone scorpions, probably not too scary. But there's that little a-hole back there casting meteors on me. And there's this big ass boy with a shield constantly encroaching on me. All right, I need to watch out for these guys, juggle all these minions, and then just like take these guys out, right? Like, yeah, it sounds harder than it is. Really just dodge around and fucking like use your abilities. It's not that hard, okay? These normal monsters, like, it's really not that bad, especially with WASD. I didn't talk about that, but yeah, I mean, everybody been yapping about it, bro. WASD's just, it's the way of the future, man. It feels so much better. Everybody's doing it except Octavian. He's like the only guy I heard who's not converted. He's just a contrarian, I bet. But yeah, I like that the difficulty in PoE 2 comes from a skill gap and not just like a lack of knowledge, right? I never felt like, oh man, I just chose the wrong passives, or oh, you know, I wish I was just doing whatever. No, I was like, oh, you know, he got me. I'll dodge roll that next time. Or, oh, how do I do? Okay, I see, right? It's like tunnel worm poisons me. Okay, I get close, or I hide behind his little tentacle or his little worm thing, right? You know, sometimes the boss move feels unfair, and I think that's good. The first time you die to the boss should feel a little bit unfair, as long as it isn't genuinely unfair, right? It should feel unfair until it clicks and you're like, okay, this is what I do, or all right, I need to do this with my abilities, or I can do this when he does that, and it lets me set up for my combo. When I stun him, I need to, you know, take advantage of that. But yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on PoE 2 difficulty, Act 1 difficulty. I really think like PoE 2 will genuinely be like a fantastic game. It's not Path of Exile 1, and I love that, because we don't need another Path of Exile 1. PoE 1 is going to continually get updates. We don't have to give anything up. We don't have to give up our bow builds, okay? We give up nothing, and we get to have updates, and we get a completely different experience, and it is a new experience. It's like an innovation on ARPGs is what it feels like. Whereas, you know, everybody else has kind of just been doing more of the same, you know, they're just doing, you know, whatever it is. It feels like PoE 2 is trying to take this to the next level with epic bosses, actually engaging combat. I mean, you can, yeah, like, I understand that people may not want to press some buttons, but it really is not that bad to actually be playing a video game and not just like, you know, holding left mouse button and then right clicking your lightning arrow with Mana Forge and mark on hit and cast when damage taken molten shell and the whole screen dies. Like, I get it. That's not to say I don't like PoE 1. I love it. Okay. But I'm glad there's another distinct experience that we get to play and not just like PoE 1 plus. Like, I'm so genuinely thankful for that. We got we're going to have the 2 best ARPGs, right? It's going to be sick. Like, straight up. You know, as soon as they release it, as soon as the beta, maybe this year, maybe at the end of the year, maybe next year we get to play it. Okay, but closing thoughts. If the game was in a state like what it was at the event, journalists should not have been invited. There's just like, there's some bugs and there's not a lot of balance, to say the least. So it felt a bit inappropriate to have like IGN there playing the game in a state like that. But I'm sure they kind of like felt as much. It didn't seem like with the way Jonathan was talking and the Ziggy Q&A that they wanted to do the event. It was kind of just like that it was planned and they had to. So I get it. And then last thought is I want to play more, man, because the only impression the community has right now, which is a huge issue with Path of Exile 2, our only impression, our only experience of character power is Act 1 and a little bit of Act 2. That's it. That's like our experience. The XL count characters and whatever, that doesn't really matter, right? Because they're not fresh. They're not like balanced for that state. But, right, we started fresh in Act 1. We got a little bit in Act 2. This is our only experience. We need to get more character power. We need to see how the game is like balanced and develops, to get feedback, and just to like let everybody know that yeah, the whole time, like, can you, right, like the whole time you're playing the game is not just going to be backpedaling. It's not just going to be like getting effed by a bunch of normal monsters or something. Like our only experience is that you get fucked and Act 1 takes 2 hours. Like that's all we know about PoE 2 right now. That's how a lot of people feel. It's like, yeah, you get fucked and you know, it's forever. And that's not good, man, because they've got a really good thing here. They've got a nice base. Like, it's fucking sick, man. Like, I want to play more bosses. I want to fight more shit. I want to get more, right, like gear. Let's see a couple uniques. Try a new combo, right? Respecs and stuff. But yeah, we just, you know, 3-4 hours of Act 1 and Act 2, and yeah, that's it. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Just like I'm excited, man. What else can I say, dude? It was sick to get flown out to LA. Like, Jesus Christ, man. It flew by so fast. You know, meeting everybody, drinking, eating, like, boom, it was just done. And then it was the event, and then it's the night after the event and going home. You have that somber whatever. I want to go back, man. I hate LA though. LA, I'm sorry. Okay, LA rant. Quick LA rant. LA is disgusting. Okay. Shithole. Okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Okay, fuck LA. Put that shit in Wisconsin, man. Come on now. Bring it here. Okay, bring the next pack of it. In the summer, it's not gonna be cold. There won't be that many bugs. And we sure as shit won't have like 15 homeless on every block with security to keep them away from the hotels. Okay. That just felt awful, bro. But hey, man, maybe I just don't leave the hotel next time. You know, ignorance is bliss. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. More build guides, more YouTube videos, more whatever. Just wanted to get my general thoughts out. I had some people asking, right? And blah, blah, blah. I'm stalling. Like and subscribe. All right, peace.